I'd like to call the meeting to order of Residence Council for July 2023. If you would, take just a minute, look at your electronic devices, and please set them to silence. Nancy Miller, will you give the invocation?
This month, we once again celebrated the birthday of our country. Have you ever wondered what happened to the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence? 5 of the signers were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons serving in the Revolutionary Army. Another had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or hardships in the Revolutionary War. They signed and they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. What kind of men were they? 24 were lawyers and jurists. 11 were merchants, 9 were farmers and large plantation owners, men of means, well educated, but they signed the Declaration of Independence knowing full well that the penalty would be death if they were captured. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, saw his ships swept from the seas by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts. He died in rags. Thomas McKean was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family almost constantly. He served in Congress without pay, and his family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him, and poverty was his reward. Vandals or soldiers looted the properties of Dillery, Hall, Clymer, Walton, Gwinnett, Haywood, Rutledge, and Middleton. At the Battle of Yorktown, Thomas Nelson Jr. noted that the British General Cornwallis had taken over the Nelson home for his headquarters. He quietly urged General George Washington to open fire. The home was destroyed and Nelson died bankrupt. Francis Lewis had his home and properties destroyed. The enemy jailed his wife and she died within a few months. John Hart was driven from his wife's bedside as she was dying. Their 13 children fled for their lives. His fields and his grist mill were laid to waste. For more than a year, he lived in forests and caves, returning home to find his wife dead and his children vanished. George Washington, though he was one of the most wealthy men during that time, he actually had to borrow money in order to go to New York for his inauguration. So take a few minutes as we celebrate our country's birthday each year. It's not too much to thank these patriots and for the price that they paid. Let us pray. Touch us, O Lord. Fill us with your light and your hope. Dear God, please give us strength when we are weak, love when we are forsaken, courage when we are afraid, wisdom when we feel foolish, comfort when we are alone, hope when we feel rejected, and peace when we are in turmoil. Amen.
Thank you, Nancy. An unpaid advertisement. If any of you in this room have ever not been to St. John's Church on Sunday afternoon to see the reenactment of the July 4th, it is well worth your time. They do a phenomenal job with Patrick Henry as well. Remarks. Amy Chapman. Sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a brief report to share with you on some highlights of what's happening in the building. Our occupancy is currently 91% in independent living, with 94% occupied and reserved, with people moving in over the next 4 months. Our assisted living number is 52 of 66. The 66 includes all of the new accommodations that have recently opened. 14 of 20 in our memory care with moves in process, and 56 of 60 occupied rooms in healthcare. The team is working with many residents who are in various stages of moving to assisted living. Almost all of the newly created apartments are now spoken for. Residents who are interested in learning more about the assisted living apartments were invited to an ice cream social, and there were tours given, and there will continue to be opportunity for those who are interested in seeing those apartments to arrange tours. Our turnover in our team member employment, we are currently advertising for just 4 full-time positions. Fortunately, applications are coming in and candidates are actually showing up for their interviews, which was something we struggled with over the last several months. Our current turnover rate is about 24%, and we have improved greatly over the last year. Our highest opened full-time positions were in the month of February, where we had 27 full-time positions. So going to 4, I think is well done for our team. COVID, the past few weeks has been good in regards to COVID. There are currently no team members and no residents who have been tested positive over the last 7 days. Although we have no new cases, we urge residents and team members to report any signs and symptoms they're experiencing, and if you're not feeling well, just get tested. Medicare update. We continue to anxiously await for our Medicare number to arrive so that we can start giving those services to our residents. We were excited about 2 weeks ago when we heard the Medicare inspector arrived on campus. Tamika, the director of nursing, and I waited patiently at the healthcare entrance for him to arrive, and after 30 minutes of looking for him, we telephoned down to the gatehouse to learn that he just came to take a picture of the sign and the physical building. We truly looked throughout the building for him. We thought he probably got lost, but he didn't. The next thing on my list is I'm going to talk a little bit about what we used to call the Fresh Eyes Committee. So I was approached by a resident about a week ago who was suggesting some minor cosmetic changes that she thought would improve Cedarfield. We talked about reinstating the Fresh Eyes Committee, which was a committee comprised of residents and team members. The purpose of the group was to collaborate to make small changes that would help Cedarfield look its best. We're not talking about major changes or purchases. We're talking about along the lines of touching up and sprucing up. So if there's anybody in the building who has a good eye or wants to be involved in such a committee, come by and see me, and we will get that started as soon as we can. I know many of you are anxious to hear about Fellowship Hall and the lobby and what renovations will be taking place. The plan is to do the lobby and the Fellowship Hall simultaneously. We are in the process of working with the architects right now. They have already created plans for the town center, the hallway, the library, as well as the gathering space at the end of the hallway. But they're currently finishing up the plans for the Fellowship Hall, and once they do that, they will present permits to Henrico County for approval. Once we have an idea of the turnaround time of the submission from the permits, we will get together a long-range plan and get residents involved to help make sure that we have your input into what this room particularly looks like. From this state of the project to completion, I anticipate about 12 months. Many people have asked me about Christmas time and the lobby. It looks like we won't have to worry about the lobby during Christmas time because really the physical changes won't happen until after the first of the year. And lastly, I just want to talk about alcohol and assisted living and healthcare. Within the last few weeks, I've been made aware on more than one occasion of residents residing in assisted living and healthcare being provided alcohol from friends in independent living. I must warn everybody that this is potentially dangerous to your friends and the residents who reside in assisted living and healthcare. Many residents in those areas are on medication that shouldn't be mixed with alcohol. We've had falls that are clearly linked to alcohol. We have been fortunate that none of these residents have sustained serious injuries, but their doctors are concerned. Please be a good friend and do not contribute to a potential problem. May I suggest candy? Chocolate is always good. Flowers or magazines instead of alcohol. If you ever have a concern about a friend or are put in an awkward position about bringing alcohol to such areas, please let me know, and I will make sure that the situation is handled confidentially and with dignity. Any questions for me? Couple. Ms. Pakula.
There was a committee. I can speak really quick. There was a committee already established to work on the renovations for Town Center and here. Is that committee going to be changed?
That committee will stand unless you don't want to serve on that committee, and if you don't, let me know. Other questions?
I think you can hear me. There it is. As you discussed the renovations here, say in the town center and in the fellowship hall, there was one step that I didn't hear, and that was that the board of directors of Pinnacle will have to also approve these changes and approve the dollar amounts. Is that correct?
That's already been approved.
That's been approved.
Correct.
Thank you.
Does that include the audiovisual?
Yes. Audiovisual has been approved as well.
And we've had trouble with one of our buses with the air conditioning.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I bet you did. But I heard that we were just fixing the air conditioning again, and it's been attempted so often. I just wonder if we need a new bus.
I think we're looking at other options right now and determining what would work best for us.
What was that? Can you repeat
Yep,
that?
absolutely. The question was that we had some problems with the air conditioning on the big bus. And what I shared was that we're looking at some options that might replace that bus, and no promises, but trying to figure out what will work best for us and be consistent.
About 3 years ago, there was a storm. A tree knocked down one of the big lampposts on Cedarfield Parkway. Since then, one other lamppost has been destroyed. We have been continually told that we would move some from the back of the campus to replace those on the lane. Could you update us on that status?
So I know that one came down last week. I did rounds with Lacey by the healthcare new entrance. I'm not sure if it came down so that it would be moved up front, but it's clear that we need to put more lighting on the parkway driving up. I believe there's still a cone where one of the light posts were. So yes, that's on my list as well. Lacey and I will talk about that again at our touch base this week. Thank you. Question in the back.
We actually have a hole on Cedarfield Lane coming from one of the storms. There's actually a hole in the road where there is a cone. Is there any, and that's been that way for about 2 weeks. Is there any news on that to be fixed?
I don't know. I'll find out though.
Thank you.
Yep. Maybe if you can tell me exactly where it is after the meeting, I'll write it down and make sure that we walk down and look at it. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
And it's always great if you see something like a hole in the property, excuse me, to put in a work order, which you can do either online, it's so nice and friendly, or pick up the phone and call Darlene Green, and that way they make sure they're working on it. Cedar Chest, Ms. Long. One aside though, while she's walking up here, just a pull for the shop at 2300, when Amy was saying instead of alcohol, you could take flowers, you could take chocolates, you could take candy. The shop at 2300 is a wonderful place. Cedar Chest.
Thanks, Sam.
The Cedar Chest Cup is literally overflowing with fabulous new items which will enhance your life here at Cedarfield. And as residents are moving to our new assisted living apartments this summer, they wisely purge their closets and cabinets to become recycling wizards. Other folks may profess to already have all that they want, and they're finding that by replacing items, they can receive muchly needed boosts. And so the cycle of giving, buying, and basking in feeling good continues. Our tireless workers who make this magic happen include, but are not limited to, Nancy Miller, Martha Ryder, Judy Ware, Denise Bakula, Jean Bodie, Nancy Garver, Patty Irvin, Mitzi Emery, Bev Taylor, and Mary Rose Ragsdale. It does take a village. We invite you to escape the July heat and the humidity by joining us, and bargain hunting guests are always welcome. Bring just a few dollars and challenge our volunteers to help you when you select new to you scarves, sunglasses, purses, and jewelry, as well as clothing, shoes, housewares, and other hidden treasures. Now, to thank our customers and our donors, mark your calendars to share a Beat the Heat ice cream party starting at 2 p.m. on August the 3rd. Meanwhile, we are looking forward to welcoming you tomorrow and every other Thursday on the second floor near B Wing, when and where you'll find just what you didn't know you needed at our ridiculously low prices. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I'm one of their best shoppers. I love it up there. Just a few remarks today. One, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the June meeting? So moved. Moved. Anybody second? And seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. An announcement, in case you did not see it on channel 974 this morning, the water is being turned off in the mothership tonight at 9 o'clock. It is due to come back on in the morning at 6 for repair, obviously, that they need to make. So fix your coffee maker before you go to bed, before 9 o'clock, so you have some water for your coffee in the morning, and just remember that. There is an announcement on 974 that now says, please do respond to a phone call from We Care Connect. It evidently did say, do not pay attention to it, but it says now, instead of the word not, it now says the word now. So it is an official communication from Pinnacle Living, a survey that they do. So if you get a phone call, it is legitimate. The hot weather is starting today and going through, I believe, Saturday. And for those of us who like to get outside, go out early in the morning, remember to drink. In Arizona, they are treating people for third-degree burns for falling on the pavement. We are not quite like that, but it's still going to be hot out, so I would not suggest pickleball at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Any questions of me? Then we're going to start with committee reports, and we'll take one out of order. A hardworking committee chair, Ms. Louisa Rucker of the Flower Guild, dressed appropriately, with props.
Are they beautiful or what? We have all this beauty here throughout the building every week. We've got 20 people working to keep this happening. We're always looking for more who are interested in flowers. But what I want to remind you, and perhaps tell some people who don't know, is that we do flowers upon request for our spots around the building for a donation for the flowers. Actually, there's a charge for the flowers, and the labor is free. We just do it because we like to do it, and we like to see people enjoy them. And you can put a card with that that says something to honor someone, to remember someone, to give thanksgiving for someone or something, to just do a lot of different things in a way of bringing attention and recognition to someone. And the thing that's so fascinating to me is when we'll be putting flowers out, getting them ready, and someone will say, is there a card that goes with that? They're really interested in what's being said with these flowers. And what I have found is the recognition this way benefits the person being recognized. It's a real perk to do that. The person who gives it has a chance to honor, remember, do all those different kinds of things. And also, the residents and staff members are encouraged by this. I have so many smiling faces walk away from a flower arrangement just saying, gosh, it's really pretty. And it feels good, it's just sunshine. So, if you would like to help in many, many ways, think of somebody you'd like to recognize, or an occasion, or something that's happened. The pledge for us is to try to make it as personal as we can. You can tell us colors that you like, you can tell us something about the situation, we'll try to reflect that. So just want you to know that this is available. Call me if you have a request, and I'll make sure it gets on our calendar and has people to take care of it. Jacqueline?
You might want to move those a little bit over this way so that people can see them on the TV. Go on.
Does it get any better than this? Okay, we're here. Look at these.
You're almost there.
Television. Let me see how you keep going. Look how beautiful these are. And it's possible that you can.
Any questions of Louisa? Louisa, a big hand of thanks for all the work your committee does all year. Communications, Vivian.
Well, once again, I'm going to tell you what's coming up as a result of the survey we did earlier this year. The comments, the spontaneous comments, the write-ins, if you will, at the end of that have now been distributed to all of the team leaders. Florence Brooks has volunteered to touch base with those people and find out essentially what has happened as a result of getting the resident comments. And she will report back to the Communications Committee on progress on those points. The campus maps were discussed, and there's a lot of concern that we don't have any really user-friendly campus maps, and particularly when new residents are coming in. What we have are the architectural drawings, and so a subcommittee of our group is going to be working with Jack Johnson to create a more user-friendly map, so that places are not just outlined on the map but are identified, so people know what it is with this little square or that little circle. The slides on 974 were discussed. This is always an issue because, after all, it's done by people and errors are human. If you discover an error in a slide on 974, whether it's spelling, grammar, information, whatever, Karen Tate is the designated proofreader, so you should let her know if there is an error. And then there was the issue of paper. Always wanting to get people more informed in as many ways as we can. There has been a concern brought forth on more than one occasion that we get so many individual announcements in our in-house mailboxes, and whether that is going to end up being useful or just more recycling. Amy, when she was here before, had brought to our attention that there was a once a week, what's happening at Cedarfield this week, one piece of paper, two-sided. The committee thought it was good to explore that again. There are, however, some caveats, because whatever is on that piece of paper would also be available online and in the Informer. And so the question is, how many people would really make use of that kind of additional communication vehicle? So what we're going to do is that there will be several sheets printed and placed in the resident mailroom. This is on a short-term trial basis. Let us know whether this is a useful thing or whether it's just superfluous paper. And that is about it for now. One other thing. We're going to be looking again at signage around Cedarfield. For one thing, it was pointed out that D-Wing still does not have numbers on the doors. And it was also pointed out that some evacuation signs are upside down. This could be an issue. We hope not. We don't look forward to evacuation, but if it's necessary, we'd like it to happen right side up. If you have any concerns about any aspect of communications here at Cedarfield, let me or any member of the committee know, and we will be happy to at least discuss it and perhaps follow up depending upon how big an issue it is. Any questions?
The information about the restaurants is very repetitive of things that have happened in the past. I don't know if that's part of your committee or the dining committee, but it'd be a lot easier if we just saw what the menus are for the day, rather than to go back to last March or last May, just to hear that the Primo is going to be open, etc. So if it could be updated, it would be helpful.
Thank you.
Many people have email addresses in Cedarfield, and more are coming with email addresses. Have any thought about doing an email blast instead of paper?
Yes, we have talked about that. We dropped the ball on our survey. We asked who uses a computer, who uses a tablet, who uses whatever, but we did not ask for who uses none of those things. There are some people here at Cedarfield who do not use email, and we have not at this point undertaken to find out who and how many and where they are. But if possible, for example, with our Residence Council minutes, those are available online. And the area reps get them electronically to distribute to people in their area. We will certainly consider that and keep considering that going forward. We just don't want anybody to be left out of the loop, because you may have noticed some of us are pretty old here.
I didn't mean to do away with paper or do away with 974 or, you know, the weekly list of things doing. It's just as a supplement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, thank you. Anything else?
Can we do an opt-in for email?
I will check that out. At this point, I don't know how many different people would need to have an opt-in list for email, but I can follow up and try to get some information on that. Good idea, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian, and I'd like to give a thank you to Nancy Miller, who is also filling in as a substitute in Frank Miller's absence today. She is running the microphone around the room. Dining, Ravi Ravindranath.
Okay, good afternoon. Dining committee. Let me talk about the top management first. Until the new dining director is in place, David Stewart will continue to be here. So if you want to contact him, he would be the person. Also, there's a new dining room manager that has been hired, and he will start on July 29th, I'm told. His name is Henry DeGuano. Couple of reminders about reservations. When you make a reservation, if any of us make a reservation, we need to get there on time. It creates all kinds of problems with the wait people if we don't. And sometimes the hostesses are kind enough to fit you in, but that doesn't help the wait staff. So please be on time. If not, you'll be given a table that's, if available. If not, you might have to go to the cafe. Same with Four Seasons table. I know the notice has been all over, so I keep reminding you, although you do not need a reservation, you do need to check in with the hostess. And that again is, the hostess will arrange it so that, because as people come in, it's difficult for the wait staff. Different people just come in, they have to give them the menu, they have to do all that, and then take the order. So, just to facilitate that. A lot of people object to the harvest table. A lot of comments, we ought to chop off the legs, we ought to do something else. But that harvest table, although it's not regularly used, is used by large groups of people, and they like it, especially in winter with the fire placed there. I know for a number of residents it's difficult to get onto that table, so I understand that that's a problem. But it's also used for events, special events, like probably tonight, the chef's night out. The point of sales tablets, it's almost there in terms of the software and the hardware. So you will, again, I remind you, and that there will be tags necessary for you to check in and order, because that allows, yes?
Who are we going to have to see to get those?
Pardon?
You said we're going to have new fobs or something to be able to use those?
Yes.
All right, who's the point of contact for that when it comes available?
Repeating with the questions, going to get them out.
point of contact to get those tags when they become available?
Dining.
Now, that's a big place. Who in particular? Anybody?
Well, I don't know at this point.
The hostess desk?
Specifically.
Let me take a
But,
guess.
okay, guess, go.
I'm guessing that dining will work out a plan to make sure that each of us has a fob when that new system becomes available, but it will come from dining.
Okay.
I'm going to be here, so that's why I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, I don't think that kind of detail has been worked out yet. The other thing that was interesting on this side, there's a lot of complaints about the food waste. So I've heard people say that you get too much and people waste it. You can ask for smaller portions. Now, I understand that some people forget to do that, and some people do ask for it and don't get it. The communication between the waiter and this kitchen. So this new point of sale system will take care of this to some extent. In order for the wait staff there will be an option on the tablet that he or she is using, which says small portion. And that wait person cannot move on to the next entry until he or she fills that. So that way you know that it's going to be communicated to the kitchen. So that's another benefit of this new system. News, a new pickup truck has come, and it is going to be used by catering, dining, and horticulture and maintenance. The cardboard compactor is also in the works. Recycling of, this is a big issue. A lot of people are concerned about this. The green containers do need to be returned. And also, there was a question asked if there's damage on the containers, as there often is, I understand, then is it sanitary? Well, as long as it can be used, they're going to, after that question was raised, the dining staff are going to check the containers, the green containers, before they put it back. And also, if it's not serious, it's not a problem because they're washed very thoroughly, just like everything else. There's an idea of charging people who use the styrofoam into the green containers for each styrofoam. That's one thought. The cook training is continuing, and there's a lot of training going on in the dining area and in the households. And I know one of the things that they're going to be taught to cook the vegetables al dente. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the vegetables to be overcooked, but there are a lot of people who do. And then the households, there's a lot of training going on, and the Conrad, who's the sous chef, who was a sous chef, is in charge of the households. So I see the improvement, and it'll be good to get feedback on whether there's improvement in the households. The letters of appreciation we sent it to about 9 people, and for their excellence in their work. And that was very well received, and it goes into their employment records. And the display Louisa's beautiful displays on the promenade are, according to the staff, they are enhancing camaraderie, encouraging residents to recognize hidden staffers, the people at the back who you don't see. There is always a turnover in August of young people. This year it's expected that 12 people will be leaving in August to go back to school or to go to work, get a job, graduating, and that they'll have to be replaced. So be patient sometimes when you're in the dining room, but they don't expect that to be a problem. This happens every year. The balance of the diners in the dining room versus the cafe are constantly watched, and when the cafe was closed completely, the diners shot up to 180 from about 140 or 130. That's come down a little bit. When it's that heavy, it makes it challenging. The alcoholic beverage prices are going to go up. They've not been raised, which I was surprised. The house brands and cocktail prices will be affected. Premium drinks will go up 50%. Now, just for your information, in a typical bar or restaurant, the markup on alcohol is around 400%. So we're still getting a bargain. A couple of concerns that were raised at the committee. Carry out orders being wrong sometimes, or the quantities being not what is expected. Well, that has been noted, and they are going to work on it. The other was brought up was the gelato. I know a lot of people are upset about gelato not being there. I don't know how many, but some certainly are. And there's all kinds of rumors that go around that, yeah, it's because they're trying to save money, they changed it to this Homestead Creamery and so on. Actually, the dining people were not trying to save money. I think they were thought it might be nice to have a change from the gelato to something else, which is a well-known ice cream place. And so I guess that's why they were doing it. The last thing is, if you have, again I say this, I've said this every time, if you have a complaint, if you have something that is not up to par, let the manager, floor manager know. And right now it's Steve. And if Steve is not there, you can talk to Lakeisha, you can talk to Claire, so on. So please tell the person right there. And believe me, Chef Tyrone is really, really trying hard to please and to improve things. So please let him know. Because if they don't know, there's no way they're going to correct it. And they want it in time so they know who made that, so they can talk to that person. This is not to take punitive action or anything against the cook. It is to train the cook to not prepare things that way. So I implore you to do that, because I still have a lot of people that come to me and say, you know, this was not good or that not good. And I said, did you talk to the manager? No. So please. So that's all I have.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions? No?
Thanks, Rob.
All clear.
Just one thing to reiterate about the dining. I was at the meeting and they talked about people making reservations, maybe wanted a reservation for 6, but they couldn't accommodate you at 6, so they gave you a reservation for 5:45. but then maybe you thought, well, I really want to go at 6, so you show up at 6. And what that does is it causes a backup in the waitstaff, it causes a jam in the kitchen, and then it's causing us to have 2-hour dining experiences on just a regular night. So they said they are going to have to start, I mean, they'll try to accommodate you if they can, but they may not be able to if you're not there at 5:45. You know, they may say, we have a table coming open now at 6:30 if you'd like to come back or wait, or if you'd like to go to the atrium. So do watch for that. Now, library, Sally Wood.
Firstly, I want to thank Carol Marco. She spent hours helping me to get a fiscal year financial report for the library, and we have more money in our coffers nowadays thanks to the seed chest giving us $3,000. And while it's not a designated gift, we are primarily using that money for large print books, which you might notice are displayed in the library over the paperback bookshelves. And it made a lot of work for people, and I have to thank particularly Perky Ryan and Marianne Fitzpatrick. You know, when we do process books in and out, it takes a lot of time because it's computer work and it's manhandling the books too. But I have been placing the large print books on top of the paperback shelves. As soon as this meeting's over, I'm going to get the Alzheimer's books out so that we'll have those available for the importance of this week. We are moving along with a new project. Seems like just about time you think you have every big project done, something pops up, so it gives you job security. And I have appointed a really powerhouse committee to deal with our biographies and also our histories. We have never systematically developed those sections. It's just based on what we get free. And we need to iron that out to have a definitive library for these two areas that are the more read academic areas in the library. And the Powerhouse Committee, now get this, Charlie Bryan, who used to run the History Society, and Sally Myers, a college professor, and Barbara Fiske, who's one of the best read people I know, are going to work on this very project itself. And we are getting, again, major libraries from residents. Anne Grimsley has given us so many of her husband's books, just a very eclectic and well-read bunch of books. I pick up some more tomorrow from the state. I promised from the University of Richmond ex-president to give us books. So we will be then taking all these collections and then thinking how can we supplement the library, the biographies and the histories with purchases, which has never really been there on the table. Unbelievably, Nancy Luede, L-U-E-D-D-A, it might be Luda. It is Luede, I have it, Luede, Chesapeake Bank. She heard that we were not able to develop a system to take our cards to assisted living and health care. And she has volunteered lunch periods to do this herself. So do go thank her. We are working with Maria Edwards in Health Services, and she wants brand new magazines, which goes beyond our budget. We don't buy magazines, and it's hard for us to get the last month. But if anybody could read these and bring them to the library and put them in the magazine donation slot. Don't put them on the outside in the hallway because we won't get them. People who are residents and staff will take them as a giveaway. Also, what works for a lot of readers, be it assisted living or health care, Will be travel magazines or journals that you've purchased throughout your European and Asian trips, blah, blah. And those are really well received in our eyes because people will be reminded of the past and things that they've done before. 110 hours were given to the library this last month by our volunteers. We have about 28 volunteers who you may not see at work because they might be doing it late in the afternoon or early in the morning, but it's a well-oiled machine that's been in process for a long time. Thank you.
Any questions for Sally? Mary Ellen Acey, Ambassadors.
No oral report for the sake of time, but please read the published report. It will come out in minutes. Thank you.
What Mary Ellen just said is she's not going to give an oral report. Every month, full minutes of all the committees are attached to the Residence Council committee minutes, and Senate and committee chairs are asked just to give highlights of the most important things of their committee and not the entire thing. Wellness and Leisure, Barbara Rose.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Wellness and Leisure Committee met on Tuesday, the 18th of July, and we didn't meet in June, and so unfortunately we had sort of a long meeting, which I try to keep it to an hour, but we went over. We always review the August calendar, and Katrin Hadula presents that. But you all have gotten your informers now, so I'm not going to go through many of those. There are just a couple. On Tuesday, the first week of August is amazing, all the offerings. But on Tuesday the 8th, David, and I don't know how to pronounce, Leon and Patty DeBeck, former faculty in the theater department at VCU and also Broadway veterans, are going to present how the 1960s changed the world. And I think that'll be very interesting. I think it has a lot of truth in it. Wednesday, the Science Museum has a new trip. So Wednesday, August 2nd, it's a new space exhibition, and the bus will be taking people. But don't forget, Friday, the 4th, we'll have the Cedarfield Alzheimer's Walk and a pancake breakfast after, and I believe it starts at 8:30 in the town center. And there are 3 different walks, so there's something there for everybody. And of course, there's a contribution box still at the concierge desk. And note that many movies on Sunday afternoon especially, there are others, but at 4 o'clock, volunteers staff that, resident volunteers staff that, and people enjoy it a lot. And one other movie, A Man Called Otto, with a dinner, is Wednesday the 9th. In the health area, look at Friday the 11th at 1:30 here. There's going to be a talk on many facets of arthritis, and that will be done by a resident, Nancy Springman. And for fitness, we have a special fun in and outside the pool, the Hawaiian Sip and Splash, the 2nd floor. So head to the pool that day, 4 o'clock to 5:30. Creative arts. Don't miss All in the Family. It's a new exhibit going in the atrium, and it has artworks from residents, instructors, and team members. And there's a reception August 10th, 4:30 to 5. So those are some of the highlights there. The committee also welcomed a new member, Jerry Simonoff, but if you look in my Cedarfield, he's under Norman Simonoff. So, but it does say Jerry and parents. And one thing our committee does is find hosts or hostesses to introduce certain entertainment, mostly evening, but there are some during the day. And Jerry is going to take over finding those hosts. So if you get a call from Jerry Simonoff, look at the event and help him out. And then Anne had at the beginning of the year, and then again recently, asked committees to establish goals. So we brought up a goal of name change to discuss, and after some discussion and topics such as activities, the name of activities, active lifestyle, programming were suggested, along with keeping it as wellness and leisure. Historically, activities was the committee's name for a long time, but wellness and leisure came in when the bylaws were amended in 2020. And that was the name of the committee that Katrin Hadala now heads, and they deal with the programming. However, our committee really has 3 stools, which you all, if you look at your resident handbook, they're mentioned. We have programs, but we also have a separate group, fitness, and a third one, creative arts. And so encompassing all of that in the name is something that we'll be looking at. And after the meeting, since it was tabled, I think smartly set up a little subcommittee, and Ted McCormick has agreed to head it, and they're going to look into that more thoroughly. We also just noted the resident-run committees or groups brochure. That was a goal for this year, and it's done. It was distributed to all independent residents and also independent living. And again, it was distributed during the orientation for the new people. And we'll be speaking a little bit with the communications committee about how the resident-run groups advertise their events, because the brochure is really the starting point. Then the resident directory that has the contact people for the committees, and then the 974 slides for special events. Programs for the future came up. I think there are so many every month, but it is amazing. Program with the Henrico Circuit Court Clerk on probate, and that has actually now been scheduled for September 13th. People have asked for a dining room kitchen tour, and the committee agreed that we should really wait until we have a new director of dining and give that person a little bit of time before that happens. And there were trips to the Squirrel Game and the New Kent racetrack and much more. Now, we have resident clubs. We each month talk about resident-run clubs, sports, veterans, fitness, and creative arts. And under resident-run clubs, we had a good discussion about the walking group that's right now on Tuesdays at 9:30. They meet at the end of the awning, got an assisted living on the 3rd floor. And John Veras, a committee member, had come up with some new ideas to I guess, invigorate and get people out walking more. One was to recognize people walking and swimming and their achievements by a log of miles and a prize and a recognition on Channel 974. T-shirts, and maybe a different day or time to coordinate with other fitness activities. And Carol Thompson, our fitness head, suggested after dinner strolls and partnering with Jan Steele on her nature walks. Cedarfield Mentors is a subgroup that reports and Martha Cole Glenn heads that up. And they have recently done volunteering at the Brook Road VCU Children's Hospital and are hoping to expand it to the new Children's Tower downtown. And that has just been a real success. Creative arts, the new things for August are adding stained glass and paint pouring classes. And of course, the All in the Family art exhibit that I mentioned earlier. And fitness, the one big thing to look for is the Health Pro Heritage Program dealing with emotions problems. That's in the Informer. And they're still looking for the full-time assistant for Carol in that area. And at the end here, what I want to do is, it's Kindness Week, I believe, so I wanted to salute and thank all the staff who make the program so wonderful and possible here, including Cajun Hadula, Georgia Brown, James Torres, Carol Thompson, and Whitney Hales. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
The arthritis class will be recorded. Wait for my
Will the arthritis class be recorded?
I don't know, but I will find out.
Can you please push for that, because there's a lot of interest and people might not be able to be here.
Yes, that's a good idea. Any other questions? Okay.
One area report, Carla Oliver.
Could have been dispensed with too. I don't know, everybody's going to pop out today. I just wanted to mention though, our Area 11 met on August the 12th in the Atrium Cafe. Each resident received a copy of the letter the Pinnacle Living Board sent to the Residents' Council President Ann Williams and her reply. These letters concern the request for a resident board membership. We discussed the letters and the reason the board decided not to have a resident on the board. Most of the Area 11 residents want a Cedarfield resident on the Pinnacle Living Board. Ms. Williams also sent a letter to the area reps about the Vision Award, which is presented by the Residents' Council once a year. She asked residents to submit nominees to the Director of Human Resources. The Resident Council executive team will then choose the Cedarfield member for the award. Our area nominated Tanika Stellers, manager of the Atrium Cafe, for her good work and friendly personality. We also celebrate Jane Kelly's birthday with singing and a birthday cake, which everyone enjoyed. Short.
Thank you, Carla. Any other area reports that I don't know about? I had two items. One, both of them are old business. One was the request of Pinnacle Living for a resident board member, which started with a resolution last December, meeting of 4 residents from Cedarfield with some Pinnacle Living people in March. We thought there was going to be another meeting. There wasn't. We were told we would not be getting someone. Both Charlotte Bailey and I have responded to Pinnacle Living, and then recently held a meeting with Amy Chapman and Chris Henderson, Charlotte Bailey and I, to talk about what are some possible next steps. And we talked about the possibility of the Finance Committee with Carol Marco, folks from Pinnacle Living, and also David Taylor from Cedarfield staff, to do maybe quarterly reports in the auditorium here to make it more apparent to all residents what's going on in the financial area. Mr. Henderson also suggested that interpersonal relationships might be a good way to encourage board members to realize that we don't have horns, and neither do we think they have horns. So he was suggesting the possibility of a small group of board members meeting with a small group of residents, and Charlotte Bailey and I agree that would be a wonderful thing, and hope we will have a date for the first one of those sometime soon. Also said that Amy Chapman would quarterly give a summary of what happened at the Pinnacle Living Board to the residents of Cedarfield. And this way, maybe we would have more knowledge, more transparency of what's going on with the Pinnacle Living. Quickly, that will all be in your minutes, but quickly, there are more specific guidelines for the Vision Award than I knew. I kept calling Stephanie Bercume with one question after another as different groups asked it, and so she has provided full guidelines. They will be in your minutes. I have a copy here, but they will be in your minutes, so look at those. Indeed, they are restricted to employees of Cedarfield. That's all the old business. Any new business to come before us? Question back here. Robin. Robin.
I have a hot off the press list, if any of you are interested. I have a hot off the press list that Jan Legan put together today of all of the people who have already, who are getting ready to transfer from independent living to join us in assisted living.
So we will put those with the minutes. If you'll give those to Mary Ann electronically, it would be great.
Well, I'll ask Jan if she can do that.
Okay. And
I'm having a problem with my email. You all will find it when you get the minutes in paper form this month. But anyway, I wanted to encourage all of you who have friends and people making the move over to assisted living to come see our beautiful, beautiful new areas that they've developed, especially on the 4th floor. My daughter came here one day and she said, you know, I don't think Cedarfield ought to get in the business of advertising this space for weddings. And it is. We have a skylight in our upstairs room that is absolutely spectacular. So if you all get restless, come see us.
Robin, thank you. Sally?
I think it's wonderful that there are steps being taken by Pinnacle to do more, to be transparent. What I hear is it doesn't take the place of having a resident on the board. So where do we stand on fulfilling the obligation that we voted on to be sure we get a resident on the board?
Both Charlotte Bailey and I replied to the letter that was sent to me in May indicating that we were not getting a member. And we have both replied to that, saying we hope that the process will continue. So we're looking forward to a response to that letter at some point. We've not heard anything. Any further business to come before the meeting? All in favor of adjournment? Thank you very much. See you next month.